Hey, thanks for reaching out. So the short answer is yes, that matters a huge deal. And it's transformed over, well, just like every year, it seems to transform because mental health research has taken on new evidence-based interventions and realities and data collection, and it's like always changing. So I have a few strategies for you to try. First of all, from the library catalog, if you just do a search for a single word, it's worthwhile mentioning that it only looks for that word. So it's not going to look for decision making or prosecution or defense or plea or anything like that. It's only looking for these exact characters. So it's not a smart search. So if you misspell something or if you don't put in a word that it's looking for, it's not going to get you the results. So if you get flustered, you can ask an AI, what are good academic library keywords for something like that. So knowing that, let's go to advanced catalog search. I'll show you this first, and then I'll show you some database strategies and which ones to try out. Because this has been going on for a long time. Scandalously, when I was a kid, there was a guy who attempted to assassinate the President of the United States. And it was a high profile case, obviously, because like it was on TV and it was like people were like watching and talking about like what was happening in the court. And it was the first instance, I think, that the public had ever heard of the term temporary insanity. So it was an interesting plea. They weren't saying the defendant was insane. They were just saying that just at that particular moment, they were temporarily insane. So it was just like, what is going on? And everyone was joking about it and things like that. Let's look that one up. Temporary insanity. And I think it worked. But you know, you can't attempt to like kill the president of the United States. That's like a capital crime or something like that. So you're getting into like psychological theory to seek justice, and you get a whole bunch of different things. The reason that I put that in quotes is because I wanted those two words to stick together. So what would we look for instead? Well, we want to look for mental health. You have to put it in quotes. Otherwise, it'll look for mental here and health there. But if you put it in quotes, it looks for those two words or any number of words in that string. And just to show you the results, you can see which ones. And we only have 2 million to search through. So I'm going to add, in the next line, I'm going to add sentencing. And I tried looking at decision making, and it wasn't quite right. So for example, if I misspell sentencing, sentencing GGG, I just wanted to show you that we'll only get the people who somehow misspelled it. Why did I get those two? So spelling counts. So I'm going to do sentencing correctly spelled, and then I'll get 3,000. And then you go into the peer-reviewed journals, and there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff going on. And it's all typically really focused. So you could look at prosecution, you could look at defense, you could look at judgment, you could look at plea bargaining, you could look at a whole bunch of different things and add that as a keyword in the next line. So for example, I'll do plea bargain in the next one. And that'll narrow it down even farther. But I found that sometimes people say mental state. So I'm going to do an or, and I'll send you these keywords in the email. So let's try that. So there's 3,000, and there's 708 peer-reviewed articles. But let's narrow down even further. Let's say I want this to be the most important part. So instead of looking anywhere, I want it to look for stuff in the title. So let's see what happens here. Hey, 24 peer-reviewed journals. Mental health consequences of correctional sentencing. Ooh, that one was just published like a month ago. So beware, some of these might get really old. Wow, this is like a topic that people are really talking about right now. Well done. Oh, there's one from 2014. 2022. Prison decarceration and mental health crisis. Let's look for one. Sentencing reform and prison or mental health. Let's look at that one. When you see a scholarly article, I'm going to open it up in a new tab. When you see a scholarly article that looks kind of like what you're interested in, look at the abstract. The abstract breaks down into where the problem is, maybe how they gathered the information in the middle, but then look at the tail end for conclusions. Mental health illness was eradicated from the prison sentencing, but rather it's something that continues to be topical in the contemporary era of offender management. So if it looks like a good one, then you would just go to the link to online resource, and then you could grab that article. So I think what you have is the ability to change it around and look for things that are very specific. So are you looking for maybe like a population of juveniles, maybe a socio-demographic, maybe people who are not economically advantaged, people who are embedded in poverty, where they just like throw something out there and hope for a plea. There's a whole bunch of different nuance that you can play with and then go and try those keywords. Let me show you some databases. There's a lot to look at. There's like 455-ish that you could go in by name, but I'd recommend going in. And since you're looking at a societal reform, I would recommend looking at, you could do those same keyword searches in criminology databases. The two good ones are right at the top, this one and this one, and you just do the same searches as it churns slowly. You could do the advanced search and just put in the keywords that we had done. You can also go in, I would recommend going into sociology as well. So if you scroll down to the bottom, sociology, my favorite database is at the top, Sociological Abstracts. It looks the same as the one that we just looked at, but this one, instead of looking at specifics of like criminal courts and sentencing and all of that stuff, this is expanding out to like population and societal issues and change and things like that. So this one might be a good one to look at too. Whew, okay, let me know how it goes.